For more than 20 years, men's tennis has conformed to this pattern, its three biggest stars bound together, their legacies, achievements and careers entwined with their rivalries. During this time, the sport itself has sometimes seemed like a planet simply orbiting around the careers of Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic, as they hoovered up 66 of the 81 Grand Slam singles titles available between 2003 and 2023. But this year, men's tennis has had a different complexion since none of Federer, Nadal or Djokovic has won a Grand Slam title for the first time since 2002. Though Djokovic is still able to challenge for the biggest titles, as evidenced by his Olympic gold medal in August, it is now possible to see the shape of men's tennis without the big three, and the complete impact they have left on the sport. Whatever comes next is unlikely to mirror the previous era, leaving men's tennis in an unfamiliar position, shorn of its three biggest icons who transcended the court. But they are leaving the sport in a healthy position, full of promising young players primed to occupy the space between sport and pop culture that remains. The era of the so-called Big Three has been waning for a while. Federer retired in 2022. Nadal's brilliance has been sapped by recent injuries, and he has said his own retirement date is close. Andy Murray, who consistently challenged the Big Three's dominance and won 3 Grand Slam titles himself, retired last month as well. But with Djokovic proving almost completely dominant in 2023, winning 3 Grand Slams and only losing the final of the fourth in a 5-set epic match. It seemed that the march of time would halt for at least one of them. Djokovic, however, last won an ATP title in November 2023, perhaps signalling the beginning of a new era in which the likes of Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner will be headlining the sport. They split the Grand Slams between them this year. Sinner, 22, won his first 2 major titles at the Australian Open and US Open, while Alcaraz, 21, added the French Open and Wimbledon to make his tally 4. In 2 of those Grand Slam finals, Alcaraz defeated Djokovic, while Sinner defeated the Serb on his way to the Australian Open crown in January. Already, new rivalries are emerging, most notably between Sinner and Alcaraz, whose 5.25-hour-long clash in the 2022 US Open quarter-final was probably the best match of the decade so far on the men's side, according to a tennis journalist, even as they play without the contrasting styles that defined the Federer-Nadal rivalry. And the Big Three's dominance for such a long time has created a so-called lost generation of players unfortunate enough to be born in the 10 years after them, skewing the ages of those most successful on tour to be either at the end or beginning of their careers. Medvedev and Dominic Thiem, who is retiring at the end of this year, are still the only men born in the 1990s to win a Grand Slam. By the time Federer was 25 years old, renowned American novelist David Foster Wallace was writing essays about him, describing his play as a kind of kinetic beauty, eliciting a religious experience from the spectators lucky enough to be courtside. At the same time, his charisma, myriad of brand endorsements and friendship with Anna Wintour helped transform him into as much a pop culture figure and fashion icon as an athlete. Men's tennis had never really seen anything like it. I remember when Federer was voted the best professional athlete in the world, says Weilander. And I don't even know if we had a tennis player have that before. Don't get me wrong, Pete Sampras, amazing athlete, Bjorn Borg. But with Federer, people started to get an idea that tennis players might be the strongest and quickest with unbelievable stamina, flexibility, individuality, mentally strong. The new generation are proving themselves capable of driving high ticket prices too. On average, fans were paying about $500 for the All-American semi-final between Taylor Fritz and Frances Tiafoe on Friday, the 5th most expensive US Open men's semi-final on record. As more and more of these young stars make a name for themselves outside of the Big Three shadow, this golden era of men's tennis will slowly fade into memory. Sport moves on all the time, says Chambers. It seems strangely a long time since Federer played now, but these guys are so massive in terms of personality and impact that they'll be missed a lot.